It started with a phone call from a number Evelyn hadn't seen in 12 years. Dr. Rowan? The voice was hesitant, familiar. Evelyn froze. Who is this? It's Natalie? From the Ashwood Institute. The mention of Ashwood knifed through her chest like ice. Ashwood Psychiatric Institute had been where she'd done her residency, where she'd first encountered her most disturbing patient, where she'd made a mistake she never forgave herself for. She hadn't heard from anyone associated with Ashwood since the night it burned down. "Why are you calling me?" "They reopened it," Natalie whispered. "The reflection room is still there." Second Ashwood. Revisited. Evelyn had told herself never to return, but the name stirred a madness she thought she'd buried, and guilt deeper than any grave. Ashwood loomed like a charred skeleton. Reconstruction had barely restored its Gothic frame, but the interior, sterile white hallways, humming lights, polished floors, was new. Yet, beneath it all, the rot of the past pulsed like a heartbeat. She met Natalie in the new staff lounge. Her face was older, drawn, haunted. "I need you to see him," Natalie said. "Patient 441. Evelyn flinched. That was the number given to Thomas Vale, her first and only long-term psychiatric patient. He had been 12 when he arrived. Now he was 24. She stared. He can't be alive. He was in the wing that burned down. Natalie looked away. He survived, and he hasn't aged a day. The third. The boy who wouldn't age. Room 441 was hidden behind layers of security, but Evelyn's credentials still worked. Thomas sat on the floor, legs crossed, staring into a mirror bolted to the wall. He was exactly as she remembered, tousled brown hair, pale skin, and wide, unblinking eyes. A child's body. 12 years. No growth. No change. He didn't react as Evelyn entered, but he spoke softly. "I told you the mirror would keep me safe." Evelyn's skin crawled. He hadn't spoken to anyone in years. According to Natalie, the only words he ever said were to the mirror. "Thomas, what are you seeing?" He tilted his head. "You'll see too. They always come back." She stared at the mirror. It was old, cracked in places. Her reflection looked wrong. A moment slower than her movements, a little too eager to match her. "This isn't a mirror," she said. Thomas smiled. "It's a window, but only if you know what you're looking for." The reflection room. In the basement of the old Ashwood building was a sealed wing, destroyed in the fire, condemned, but Natalie gave her the key. The reflection room had been an experimental therapy chamber. The idea was exposure to one's own reflection, uninterrupted, to provoke a confrontation with repressed trauma. It had never worked, except on Thomas. The room was exactly as Evelyn remembered, circular, no windows, mirrors on every wall. But the air was wrong, heavy, wet, like breathing in another person's breath. She stepped inside. Her reflection followed, hundreds of her endless Evelyns. And then they started moving out of sync. She gasped. One of her reflections was crying. Another smiled. Wide, crooked, alien. One began to claw at the glass, mouthing words she couldn't hear. A whisper curled around her ear. "You never left." She turned. The door was gone. V fractures. Evelyn began to unravel. Each reflection began showing different memories. Her failures, her shame, her guilt over Thomas. how she'd ignored his warnings, dismissed his terror of the mirrors. In one reflection, she saw herself strapping him down, forcing him to face his own image. "You said it would help," his ghostly voice echoed. She collapsed. The lights flickered. One mirror cracked. And behind it, something moved. Not a reflection. Not her. A dark shape, black as ink, peeling out of the mirror like a second skin. It had her face, but the eyes were all wrong. Pupilless, hungry. She screamed and ran, her hands slamming into endless glass. Each mirror leading to more reflections, but all slightly off. In some, she was dead. In others, she was something else. She wept until her throat was raw. 6th, the wake-up. She awoke in a hospital bed. Natalie was beside her. "You were found in the old wing," she said. "You were babbling about mirrors." Evelyn shook her head. "The reflection room. You sent me there." Natalie blinked. "The reflection room was destroyed in the fire 12 years ago. You were there when it happened. You tried to save Thomas, remember?" Evelyn froze. I talked to him. He's alive." Natalie put a hand on her shoulder. "Thomas Vale died in the fire. We buried him. You tried to save him, but you couldn't. Number I saw him. He's still 12. Natalie gently reached into a folder. She pulled out a charred photo. It showed Evelyn, much younger, standing beside a boy, Thomas. She turned it over. In faded handwriting, Dr. Evelyn Rowan, final session, before incident. Patient 441, deceased. 7. The truth beneath. She left the hospital and returned home. She avoided mirrors, but late at night she could hear whispers from them. "You promised you'd protect me." Her bathroom mirror fogged over even when the room was cold. On it, in smeared lines, were the words, "Come back." Desperate, she retrieved old files, photos, session tapes, but none of them showed her, not one. She stared into her bathroom mirror. Her reflection smiled before she did. It whispered, "You're not Evelyn anymore." She recoiled, but the figure didn't move. Her reflection pressed its hands to the glass. Evelyn died in the fire. Her mind reeled. "You stayed in the reflection room. I took your place." She clawed at the mirror, but the image held steady. She was still 12 years old, trapped in the same moment, in the same room. Thomas hadn't survived. She hadn't saved him, but she had traded places. 8. The sad surprise. The next day, Natalie received a package. Inside was a small cracked mirror. On the back was a note in Evelyn's handwriting. "Don't look. If you see yourself, it's already too late." Natalie stared into the mirror and blinked. Her reflection didn't